Welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, we have a budget framework, and we have a Democratic state senator and a Republican state House member who are going to weigh in on that. Plus, Patti joins us, a little bit of a discussion about the importance of vocational education. We'll be back in a moment.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Well, we have a budget framework. I'm not counting days anymore. It's like 4 months or something like that. The State Senator Rob Teplitz, who comes on the show a good bit, he's from Dauphin and Perry County. We'll put his Twitter handle up. You can drive him crazy on Twitter if you want. You don't mind that, do you?
No,
Twitter
not
exchanges?
At all. Not at all.
I mean, this is a very serious matter. I mean, we sort of joke about the time frame, but this is serious. There are people who are now being hurt, and that's wrong. And this isn't a Democratic or Republican thing. It's just wrong. But there's a framework now. Sales tax up 6 to 7.25% for most of the state. Mm-hmm. Philly and Allegheny County will be higher. Mm-hmm. You want to, the proposal is to take some of that money, put it in property tax, about $1.4 billion of the $2 billion of sales tax, put the $600 million in a reserve fund that would go towards pensions. We know we have a big. Let me ask you first. I want to ask you two questions. I'm going to ask Representative Saylor that too. What do you like and what don't you like about it? What do you like about it?
Well, what I like the most is that there's finally serious discussion. Yeah. And it seems like there's a good faith effort on both sides to reach a compromise and end the impasse.
Right.
On the substance, it's really hard at this point because all there are concepts. I mean, there aren't really details. I mean, I've never heard the word framework used so much as I have in the last week.
True.
But, in a general sense, if we can address the structural deficit, restore cuts that had been made in education, social services, jobs program, the agriculture industry, provide property tax relief, put the issues of pensions and liquor behind us through some compromise one way or the other. I think if we can do that's a great comprehensive plan, but the details are incredibly important.
And they're going to work those out in the next couple of weeks. And if I understand it, the goal is to try to get this done by Thanksgiving. Now, that's given about a week and a half when this show starts to air around the state. That's not a lot of time to get all the details of this. And I think the last thing the voters want to see and you want to see is the lawmakers in on Thanksgiving, right, when everybody should be at least out taking a little bit of a break from all of this. Well, let's talk, and again, I'll ask Representative Saylor and Patti this too. The property tax relief is not going to be large. I mean, it looks like we pay $13 or $14 billion in total property taxes, $1.4 billion, question about whether it's permanent or not. That's not what anyone talked about when these proposals were made by both Republicans and Democrats earlier. It's modest.
That's right. There were much more ambitious plans proposed all around.
Yeah.
They may not be possible. And as you know, we've got to get to what can receive majority votes. I hope that in some form there is property tax relief, particularly if we can target it towards the people who are hurt the most, which are seniors and those on fixed incomes. I mean, those are the people who right now are hurt the most under the current system.
Now, the other question that I have is that it looks like, and I'm not asking you to speak for the governor, but I think there's a kind of consensus, Republicans as well as Democrats, that I've had on this program and talked with, informally, all want to see education spending increase. I don't think that's the loggerhead. I was a little surprised that in the discussions there was no, literally, comments about a shale tax. Maybe, is it is it the fact that a shale tax wouldn't bring as much revenue because the price of natural gas is down? I mean, what's your sense about that?
Well, I think that the timing, is such that it's not going to bring in as much as it would have had this been done, a few years ago. But the principle is the same. I have a concern about, asking more of Pennsylvanians and not taxing out-of-state drillers.
Right.
Even if it is a modest amount. So, I think that's part of it, and that may be a hurdle that I and others just have to get over, depending on what we like about the budget as part of a comprehensive plan. But again, there just haven't been much details yet.
We're gonna run to a break. I don't want to talk about vocation. I'm going to talk about some of the business that you have, legislation you have with veterans that I think is extremely important. But before I do this, are you more optimistic or pessimistic at this point than you have been?
I've been wrong in every prediction this year.
Everybody.
but I'm encouraged because at least I think there are good faith discussions going on,
that's a good thing.
I'm not sure that has occurred over the last few months.
Yeah. All right, I'm chatting with Senator Rob Teplitz. He's from Central Pennsylvania. For those of you who in other parts of the state, he represents Dauphin County and Perry County. We're going to get into, I think, some important pieces of legislation. It has to do with veterans. Last week we had a big celebration, but we can't forget the veterans. Just simply move on. We'll be back in a moment.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania State Education Association and Partners for Public Education, bringing the power of a great education to our schools, our students, and our communities. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Please visit pahighwayinfo.org. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Welcome back to the program. Senator Rob Teplitz is joining me. I'll get that out. And last week we celebrated Veterans Day. Let's not move on and forget the veterans, all too often forgotten. Senator's shaking his head about that. You have some legislation which I think, in my humble judgment, deserves some serious consideration. Why don't you just go over what you think are the problems that you're trying to solve with the legislation?
Sure. One of the things that I did after I took office was create a Veterans Advisory Committee. So I meet with veterans and their families routinely throughout the year, and we talk about issues that are of concern to them so that I can then try to address those in legislation. And what I've found is that the transition from military life to civilian life can be a difficult one. So we have bills to help with entrepreneurial programs so that veterans can create their own businesses, learn skills to run those businesses. I have legislation on veterans treatment courts, which exist in some counties, but we would require them in every county.
What are they?
It's a specialized court to address issues that underlie if a veteran is accused of a crime. It's a way to intervene, get the person back on track with counseling, rehabilitation, as opposed to just straight to incarceration.
Right. And are some of these problems that obviously veterans have caused by the various illnesses that veterans get because of the combat and stress
PTSD, addiction issues, and so this is a way to recognize that their service may have contributed, to their run-in with the law, and we try to get them back on track. We also have bills dealing with mental health treatment for veterans, which is an issue, again, a related issue. Some other job creation, again, all in the theme of trying to make that transition easier.
Right. So where do these bills, we don't get into process here, but what's been the reaction by your colleagues? It would seem to me that, maybe not every piece of it, but parts of it ought to be doable.
It's been very positive, bipartisan co-sponsors. They're all now in committee. We just had a legislative hearing a few weeks ago on the bills to help move them along. So I'm encouraged about their process.
All right, before I let you go, I want to ask you, you're a member of the, I'll call it so-called Reform Caucus. I'm not being derisive about it, but we struggle hard to bring about some change in the way the legislature does its business. One of the changes that I thought only makes common sense would be to have an independent audit of the legislature. I know you get into this separation of branches and the different powers, and nobody wants to encroach. But in addition to that, what are the 2 or 3 big things that your caucus would like to achieve? And this is bipartisan. You're in this with lawmakers from the other party.
Yes,
too, right?
House and Senate, Republicans and Democrats. In fact, my co-chair is Representative Jerry Knowles, who is a House Republican. We have coalesced as a caucus around the issue of trying to deal with gifts to public officials, trying to come as close as we can to a gift ban, similar to what the governor put in on the executive branch. Do that.
Congress, and there's a congressional gift ban, too.
And do that. Deal with some practical issues of, if a constituent comes in with a pan of brownies, you don't want to offend them by saying we can't take that. But you want to get rid of the things that have the most corrupting influence. You don't want the 4-day trips to the Caribbean to play golf. Exactly. I understand. Go ahead. So we've been working on that. We've gotten a good reception from a very diverse group of colleagues. We're trying to get those bills out of committee. We have a House version and a Senate version, and we've been working hard on them. How about the audit of the budget of the legislature? Is that appropriate for another official? In this case, I presume it would be the Auditor General who conducts audits of. Go ahead. And those are my bills. There's 2 bills because it would require a constitutional amendment, and then there's a statutory change. I've introduced them the last 2 sessions. We have some bipartisan support for those, and some people are more enthusiastic than others in the legislature, but I think it's the right thing to do, to have an independent audit. And, certainly if that had been done years ago, the large surplus that grew, that then led to Bonusgate and the problems relating to Bonusgate might not have occurred, and we might have a very different political environment. The caucus is now, some of them at least, I think 3 of them are borrowing money to get through. So the legislature itself has to borrow money in order to get through the budget and pass. Well, thanks for coming in. Sure. I appreciate it. All right, coming up, we got Representative Stan Saylor. He's in the other party and in the other chamber of the House, along with Patti. We'll be back in a moment.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania, and by the Pennsylvania Coal Alliance, representing companies involved in America's most affordable, reliable energy source. To learn more, visit pacoalalliance.com.
Well, we're back. What else? We got to get into the budget framework, and then we're going to talk about vocational education, an important and I think neglected subject. Joining me is Representative Stan Saylor from York. He's the chairman of the Education Committee of the House, and Patti, he's the president and CEO of the PA Business Council. Gentlemen, welcome.
Glad to be here.
All right, Representative, I'm going to start with you. We have this budget framework that I explained earlier in the program. I think I understand it. What do you like and what don't you like about it? I'm going to ask David that in a minute.
Well, I have concerns about the sales tax increase as to amount of property tax relief it's going to be. Yeah. In all honesty, my taxpayers in York County don't want a token relief. They want real relief of some kind. So I have concerns until I see the numbers of exactly what it means to my taxpayers. I'm not necessarily on board with that. Also, I have a little bit of concern with the tobacco taxes. I mean, one of the concerns I have with the tobacco taxes is, again, it's a tax increase, which I really don't like when I think there's other ways of paying for things. But in particular, we just raised the gas tax, which I was all in favor of because our infrastructure needs to be improvements here in Pennsylvania.
And you can't go anywhere and not see the work being done, right?
Exactly. But the other thing is we're hitting a lot of the small mom and pop grocery stores with the gas tax increase, and now we're going to hit them with the tobacco increase. And a lot of them depend on their gas sales as well as their tobacco sales, I hate to say it, to survive. Because, and if you live near the Maryland border or the Delaware border, gas prices in the Maryland and Delaware are 15 to 20 cents cheaper. And so you've got to be careful with what you're doing with the small grocery stores and putting them out of business.
Now you sound like someone who's in York County where people can get to Maryland in 10, 15 minutes in many cases. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah, as you know. What do you like and what don't you like about it?
Well, I think the representative hit the nail on the head there. From the business community point of view, there are a lot of things that could have been worse for us than the sales tax increase. But if you're a retailer, then that's about the worst thing that could happen to you. If you're not selling food and clothing and you're selling durable goods and you're near a border, that's going to be a problem for them.
You know, one of the things, look, we pay, and there's not up-to-date estimates, you guys are the experts, maybe $13, $14 billion in property taxes. Businesses, as you know, David, better than anyone, pay a fair share of that. But it looks like $1.4 billion in property tax relief. And originally, plans were in the legislature for $3.8 billion. That was a Republican tax relief.
My plan.
Yeah, your plan. We'll get you out on that. And $4.8 with the governor's plan, and now we're down to $1.4 billion. Is that your point, that you want to see?
I really believe that property tax relief, Terry, should be at least 50%, somewhere close 50%, not just a token 10 or 15%. We're seeing all families, and I've said this all along, it's just not senior citizens. Yeah. Senior citizens are hurt who are relying on Social Security. But if you're a young person who has a wife or a husband who has come down with cancer or some kind of a chronic disease, and you're off from work, keeping your home that you worked most of your life for is also in jeopardy of being lost to property taxes. That's why I'm a real believer in the sales and the personal income taxes as a way to relieve us of our property taxes.
Now, school officials have been starting to go, wait a minute. You might also want to do what they call a back-end referendum in order to raise property taxes.
School officials have been saying you don't want to do one of those.
That's what I'm saying. They've been raising the question. No. So, in other words, you're going to do a sales tax hike. You may not get an appreciable property tax relief. And by the way, we can't raise property taxes.
I would side with the school officials on this one. So the representative, I'm not sure we have talked about this. We may have different.
You can disagree. That's okay.
But the very legitimate concern of some lawmakers is we don't want to reduce property taxes in one way and then see them go back up again so that it became meaningless while the other tax was increased. I get that part of it. But if you tie the hands of local officials, so if state officials say, gee, locals, you can't raise this without going to your voters, but the state in the future doesn't come through with state funding, what do the local school districts have left? They have to cut something. And some of those things like pensions are out of their hands. Let's take care of the pension cost drivers, the health cost drivers.
Well,
then we can talk about how do we limit the growth.
They're probably going to work on that. All right, we're going to run to a break. When we come back, I want to ask Representative Saylor and Dave Patti about vocational education, how important it is, what they would like to see done. We'll do that after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Inspired physicians committed to the good health of Pennsylvanians and the advancement of the practice of medicine. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Business Council and by the Pennsylvania Business Council Education Foundation.
Well, I'm talking with Representative Stan Saylor from York. He chairs the House Education Committee, and Dave Patti, he's chair and CEO, president, I should say, of the Pennsylvania Business Council. All right, Representative, let's start with this. Vocational ed, it often gets neglected. But in my humble judgment, it's important, and we need to do some things to make it better.
Absolutely. You know, when you look at vocational ed, our VoTech schools need additional dollars, as well as schools like Thaddeus Stevens, which is located in Lancaster. Outstanding record. You have 100% placement from Thaddeus Stevens. Students coming out of there, I think on the average, are making $60,000 a year. But the key in our vocational ed is we need to put additional dollars in vocational ed and in schools like that, community colleges, as well as we need to have our career and guidance counselors in our schools directing students to jobs that are really out there today. And that's a real problem. Too many people want to go off to our four-year degree colleges, but yet only 30% of those kids coming out of four-year degree colleges are getting a job in their careers that they have a degree in. Thereby, they're coming out with a debt and no job.
So basically what you're saying is there's a place for both, that higher ed's important, vocational ed is important. Now, from the business community, I hear all the time, well, wait a minute. We have these jobs, but the folks applying the mix of their skills,
and particularly the skilled labor, right, is hard to fill. But the other thing that people have to understand in the 21st century is that it's not career vocational education or academic education. The two of them are intertwined.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can come out of a career technology program in high school and still get a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, or your MBA. One does not stop you from getting the other. In fact, the best people out there are the ones that bring those together.
Yeah, is the biggest challenge in the K-12 public education the fact that you think there needs to be more instruction and assistance in framing possibilities such as vocational ed, or do you think it's we don't have enough vocational ed programs, we need to expand, or is it a combination?
Well, it's a little bit of a combination. I mean, I think a lot of people who are teaching in school today or administrators as well as guidance counselors are still looking at manufacturing industry as a dirty job. Well, you can go walk into Harley-Davidson and walk out of Harley-Davidson as clean as you walked in, you know, and that's just one manufacturing job.
Called computer technology, maybe?
Exactly. and the thing is today is you can make a lot of money in manufacturing or any number of skilled jobs today that don't require a bachelor's. So we just have to understand that whether it's welding or it's a plumber or whatever career that you choose, you can make very good money and have great benefits today.
Right.
And so we need to mix it too. I think the other thing is we have to make sure of is our cell phones have become a problem for us because too many kids are texting all the time and have not learned the communications between each other.
Oh, they're texting all the time? Really?
So I hear from business community is that some of our grads who are coming out of four-year degrees have a problem communicating exactly the skills they want somebody to do.
We get that. All right, we have about 50 seconds left. Education spending $350, $400 million for education for the subsidy. You okay with that?
Yeah, I think the framework provides a good foundation for the appropriate spending for K-12, linked to the accountability that the students.
Now, you know I got to ask you that question, right? You get this. Are you okay with that, providing it's funded in the way you agree with?
Absolutely. Yeah. We need those dollars, but we also need, as we continue to go through, to invest some more dollars in vocational schools. All
right. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. All right. We'll see you next week for another edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers. And as always, stay well.